The Helsinki Film Festival for this year, 2013, is around the corner. And I have with me the director of the festival, Wanjiku, to tell us all about it. But before doing that, let us get to know more about this extraordinary lady. Wanjiku was born and bred in Kenya. She is one of the daughters of renowned African literary figure, one of the early fathers of African literature, Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Apart from being the director of the Helsinki African Film Festival, she is also an editor and writer. Her first novel is forthcoming from EAEP in this year, 2013. Wanjiku also worked in the private sector as well as for community and non-governmental organizations in United States, Eritrea, Zimbabwe, and Kenya. In Finland, she was a columnist with the magazine Maailman Kuvalehti for 3 years and have also established her own company, WN Editorial. She holds a BA degree in Sociology and Political Science from New York University and a master's degree in Policy Studies from Sapes Trust, Zimbabwe. In this interview, I started by asking her how the whole idea about setting up a yearly African film festival in Helsinki came about.
I mean, I've always been interested in African film. Didn't get too much of it in Kenya when I was growing up, but I studied at the New York University and worked under Manthia Diawara, who's an African film critic. So really got interested in film from that stage on, because we hadn't seen too many Africans on the screen growing up. I think the only film I saw was Cry Freedom, and I think I watched that film 3, 4, 5 times, in the theaters because I was so intrigued. And even though Denzel Washington and the black actors were only there for, was playing as Steve Biko, were only there for a short period of time, it still was very powerful to see people like me on the screen. So I've always thought that was interesting. So I went to work when I was working under Manthia Diawara at NYU. I came across some Venice films and things like that. So I've always been interested. And then coming to Finland, experiencing the stereotypes that I hear about Africa and the way Africa is seen generally anyway in the West, which is through a very narrow lens, half stories of Africa, dominating the African, the way Africans are imagined here. So I thought, wow, what a good way to broaden people's horizons and to tell the African story. I think it's film, because film is very powerful. So that's how it just started, really, in a nutshell.
So you gathered some people around and started this whole thing, or how did it?
Yes, I approached a few people asking if this could be done. I think there was a lot of skepticism at first, but then met Peter Kuria of Charlene, and he was like, let's do it, and that's how we started. I went to the ministry and asked, we have this great idea, would you guys be willing to fund us? And they were really excited about that, and I think they had tried the same thing a few years back, and it had not gone the way they had imagined it to be, so they were quite happy to come on board. And within, I think, 6 months, we held our first film festival here to a great success. I think every single film, we only had 11, but every single film was house full, which was quite revealing in a sense.
Interesting. Can you go into some details? Starting from the first festival,
Yeah.
Upwards.
Yeah. You mean in terms of?
In terms of the themes, what kind of movies there were, who were there?
Yeah, we always, over the past 4 years, we always want to bring one director to talk about his experience in making film, and so the first year we just wanted to highlight, or we were talking about Africans on the big screen, and what does it really mean, and how have Africans been portrayed on the screen. In this case, we're looking at all kinds of films, and we had invited the director of one South African film to come here and sort of talk about his experience making this film in South Africa. And the second year we had Caroline, who's a Ugandan filmmaker. She's directed this nice, beautiful, excellent Imani film. And then the third year we had a Tunisian filmmaker, and she made a documentary about the Tunisian revolution, so we thought that was interesting. Last year's film theme was building bridges.
And what was the theme the year before it, when Kenya was here?
It was actually women in filmmaking. Yeah. Or women filmmakers, or African women in film, really. Yeah, which is quite interesting because we revealed several things. One is that there are a lot of African women who have joined, who've joined the filmmaking process, but at the same time not as many as, so it's actually kind of difficult to find films by African women directors. I mean, they are there, but not as many. But we managed to do a good job. Yeah.
So this year.
Yeah. So this year, youth and power. And the idea is, I think the way people imagine the continent of Africa is as passive people, mostly because NGOs doing their work, the media, the way the media portrays us, the way things are reported about Africa, it kind of shows a passive sort of continent. And we're here trying to say that no, we're just like any other continent, and we're just like African countries are like any other countries, and the youth are very active and doing things and moving forward. And so that's why we wanted to sort of highlight films made by youth, young African filmmakers, and also to highlight what is going on, for instance, on the political end, how Africans trying to change their communities or societies. So we have documentaries and just films. Yeah.
And is there a youth director coming over?
Yeah, we have David Tosh Gitonga. He's from Kenya. He's just made this very nice, interesting film, Nairobi Half-Life. So it's going to be our feature film. So and so far there is quite a bit of interest in him coming. So
now let's talk filmmaking, African filmmaking generally.
Yeah.
Do you think Africa has arrived in the concept of filmmaking?
I think Africa has sort of arrived many years ago, and of course there is so much more improvement, and I think African film can compete with any other other films elsewhere in the world. Of course, there are some aspects of African filmmaking that needs to be improved on, but I think that's part of the process as well. I mean, I'm in favor of Nollywood, for instance. I think that's a good starting point. And of course, there are challenges there on the stories, the filmmaking, the camera, and all that. But I also think there's some good things coming out of Nollywood, and there has to be a point of, or a place where you begin. And I think there's been so much excitement because for many years Africans just didn't see themselves on the screen portrayed the way they see themselves or the way they experience lives, because for many years we have just seen ourselves through Hollywood, through the Hollywood lens, which is problematic, So I think there was a lot of excitement with the Nigerian films because they would, just have the handheld and do their films. But I think they're also taking it, out of that, we're also getting some really fantastic films, I think, So I think there's this sort of revolution, if you like, of Africans making film. In I think there's Riverwood in Nairobi, Riverwood in Uganda, and so on and so forth. But very nice, interesting films are coming out of those, and many challenges because financially making a film is it's quite something, So.
Yeah, talking about finance, this kind of film festival you're in charge of.
Yeah.
I'm sure you don't have enough workforce to start with, and it's at the same time.
Yeah.
The finances. How do you manage this?
I mean, I think largely it's a labor of love for sure. I mean, there's so many details that go into making a festival happen. But at the same time, we do get some funding from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but not enough. But in terms of getting the films over here and paying for their rights and transportation, I think we do. It's fairly well covered. But in terms of the labor that goes into it, I think maybe we could. But then I also have to say that we do have amazing volunteers. I mean, I think volunteering here is just like any. I haven't seen that anywhere else. So we've relied largely on volunteers who are willing to not just give an hour, but sort of we have people working sort of full time with us, working late at night and so trying to get this to happen. So in a sense, that is a good side to see people coming together.
And do you think this festival of African film is impacting on the Finnish society?
I hope so. But I think so because every year we bring in, we try. The first year I screened 11 films. The second year we had 14 or something like that. Last year we had 17. Now we have 22. So, and every year we've had a pretty good audience. I think we've been pulling in, quite the crowds. So, so I feel as if we are like every year we do get a certain number of people who are new too, because it's a different audience that we're getting. What is what I've been told. It's a different audience than who has been, because sometimes at the International Film Festival, they would bring an African film, in the middle of all the 50 films, and they would get 20, 30 people coming to watch that. But now we, I think so. I mean, I hope so. I hope that them coming to watch the films gives them another way of looking at African countries and the people. It's images and stories that I'm sure they haven't seen. So hopefully, I hope that.
I discovered that this year's festival, there is an additional thing to it. Something to do with this trip?
Yeah, we have this HAFF Street, and it's just celebrating African culture in all its diversity, Ethiopian coffee ceremony and the regular face painting, but also just, having all the African artists here, or people interested in African art and the performing artists coming together and, just having a day of sheer complete fun.
I remember you told me earlier while we were chatting that that your vision is just to use the film as a rallying point for other things.
Yeah,
so
the idea.
African.
Yeah, the idea is that we can celebrate Africa in all its full, artistic form, and we can have authors, literature. We can, and like we have an art installation now, also as part of this festival in Andorra. We're going to have an installation, and so we would like to expand it a little more. So it's not just film, but it's also other art form art, so other forms of art. Yeah.
Great vision indeed, I must say.
Yeah, I hope it works. It will be good for Finland.
What can I say? So keep up the good work, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks.
you.